Happy New Year to everyone in the rescheduled GNR. Thank you for your attendance. I was going to say, I don't know if you could just quickly close the door at all, if that's all right. Cheers for that. Thank you, just in case there's noise in the corridor. I was going to say, could I ask members gently if they could set their phones to stun or silence, please, just to keep proceedings as swift as possible. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And on to our first item, apologies for absence, please.
Through you, Chair, we have received apologies from Councillor Jeff Bond and Councillor Bob Butcher.
Thank you, John. And on to the second item, approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Do I have any points of issue, or do I have someone to support, please? Oh. I'll have Councillor Shelley first it, and then Councillor Ripton second it. Thank you very much. Can I have all those four, please? Yeah. Thank you very much. That was unanimous. Thank you very much. We have no public participation tonight. No interests that anyone has to add, as anyone remembers. Thank you. No. No questions on item 5, procedure number 15. And so on to item number 6, please. And could I hand over to our auditors, please? The external auditor completion report for the financial year 2025.
So this report asks members to approve the external auditor's audit completion report for the year ending 31st March 2025. This summarises the work undertaken and the key findings arising from their audit work in relation to the financial statements. Jennifer Norman from the External Auditors Mazars is here to present her report and to take your questions. So with the Chair's approval, I'll pass over to Jenny.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Chair. Hello, everyone. So we're very pleased to be presenting our audit completion report for the year ended 31st of March 2025. We are hoping to sign our audit opinion next week. However, we have been able to bring this report to you because our work is substantially concluded. On page 29 of your packs, there is an audit approach and risk summary, which sets out the 4 key risks that we identified in our original audit plan and our conclusions on those areas. So this year, we had management override of controls, which is a mandatory risk on all audits, whether they're public sector or private sector. And then very common in district councils, we have valuation of property, plant and equipment, and also investment property for the case in the case of Derbyshire Dales, and then also the valuation of the net defined benefit pension asset and liability was also identified as significant risk. And then new this year, we had an enhanced risk for IFRS 16 leases, as this was the first year of its implementation in the local government sector. So we have identified some what we call adjusted misstatements, unadjusted misstatements, and some disclosure misstatements, one of which is unadjusted. So broadly speaking, disclosure misstatements are modifications to misstatements that, if they're adjusted, they're modifications to the statement of accounts which do not impact the main financial statement, so your main balance sheet, comprehensive income and expenditure statement, movement in reserve statement, but they do affect something else in the accounts, for example, one of the notes to the financial statements. So just point of correction, we've put for the conclusion on that page 29 for evaluation of the LGPS defined benefit pension that we had no issues identified, but we did actually pick up some disclosure amendments, disclosure misstatements, but they had no impact on the main balance sheets. So, for example, we had the conclusions of the pension fund auditor, the Derbyshire Pension Fund. They had a misstatement which we then extrapolated to Derbyshire Dales' share. So this is not an error that the council has made, it's just their share of that error that was identified for the general pension fund. And then there's some technical disclosure amendments that were made to do with the asset ceiling. We also mentioned in the report, because we issued this at a point in time, we issued this before Christmas, that some areas were still outstanding. So until we finally sign next week, those areas are still outstanding because we we'll always be reviewing and making sure we're doing our final checks. But the work on all those areas is now completed. So we're just in the final review stage, closing down the audit file, ready for next week. So we did identify for that enhanced risk a adjusted misstatement, which was to do with depreciation on right of use assets, which have been missed out. And then we also noted another adjusted misstatement, which was just a reclassification between debtors and creditors. For the control conclusions then, so we picked up on previously identified control points that you would have seen in our last audit report. So we had one on the Ernest Bailey Bank, which we now consider to be cleared. We had one that rolls forward every year on the Freedom Leisure issue, where every year we check that the impact is not material. So we can confirm for 24-25 that the impact is still not material. And we also identified a control issue in the prior year to do with transposing values from the value report to the fixed asset register. We've not identified any issues with that this year, so we now consider that to be cleared. We did identify one other recommendation that we've included on page 45 of your packs, which is to do with appointing a valuer for 25-26, because we appreciate that this takes a lot of time for the council. It's a complex area. It's a big piece of work, so it needs to be, in order to assure timely production of the draft accounts and a timely audit, it's something that needs to be prioritised, and we have here that the management accepts our recommendation. Happy to take any questions about the report or anything to do with the audits, if anyone has any.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for your excellent work as well. Councillors, do I have any questions from the floor? Do I have any supporters then for the recommendation that the letter of representation, that the report be supported? Thank you, Councillor Ripton. Any seconder, please? Councillor Flitter. Could I have all those voting for the file, please? Thank you very much. That was unanimous. Thank you very much, all. Thank you very much, Jenny. Thank you. On to next item, which is the letter of representation 24-25. And Karen, over to yourself to start with. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'd refer members to a slightly updated version of this report that reflects an issue that arose earlier today in discussions between Jenny and the Financial Services Manager. Printed copies of the updated reports are on your tables, and the changes are shown in red. I'll explain the changes shortly. So the letter of representation provides evidence that the Council's management and members, to some extent, acknowledge responsibilities for the fair presentation of the financial statements and have approved them. So the draft letter is shown as Appendix 1 to the report, and Appendix A to that letter, which is on page 70 of the agenda pack, provides information relating to misstatements. Now, when I drafted this letter, only one misstatement had been identified, but the conversation earlier today revealed that there could potentially be another misstatement. So it's one of the outstanding issues that Jenny just mentioned. So for that reason, I've suggested that we update the recommendation to the report to say that members endorse the letter, but it will be subject to changes required to reflect any further adjusted misstatements identified during the external auditor during the final review of the accounts. Should that be necessary to change that, the letter of representation, then I will arrange to send members of the committee a copy of the final letter. We'll also need to obviously to put a date on the letter. That needs to be the same date as the auditors sign the audit opinion, preferably. So we're hoping that will be sometime next week. Thursday, possibly.
Thank you, Karen. And could I draw everyone's attention to you actually have a copy of that in front of you, so please do have a read and make yourself familiarise yourself with it. Do we have any questions or queries on the letter? In which case, recommendations for the letter to be endorsed. Oh, sorry, apologies. Councillor Hughes. Yes, I'll move it. Councillor Hughes. Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Rips is second. Thank you very much. Can I have all those for the recommendation, please? Thank you very much all. Thank you, members. On to the next item. Item number 8 for 24-25. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you. So this is the last of the 3 reports dealing with the statement of accounts. And in this report, I'm asking members to approve the statement of accounts itself. The accounts have been prepared to comply with the proper practices, as demonstrated by the completion of the audit and amendment. Compliance by looking at the aid memoir, which is Appendix 1 to the report. The report describes the adjusted and unadjusted misstatement and the disclosure amendments identified by the external auditor and the response by management. So in most cases, we amended the accounts except for the unadjusted misstatement that's been disclosed. The overall financial position remains as was reported to you in July. So although there were some changes made, they didn't affect the balance sheet or the income net expenditure account. The overall financial position has remained. The statement of accounts also includes the annual governance statement that was approved last July. It's a requirement of the Code of Practice that we include the annual governance statement within the statement of accounts. But clearly it was approved last July, so some of the things in there will have moved on since then. That is on pages 107 to 138 of the pack. So once you've approved the statement of accounts and it's been audited and signed off, we'll publish it on the website alongside the audit completion report. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And thank you for the report. It's an excellent report. Can I open it to the floor, and do any members have any questions on this one? In which case, if I don't have any questions, do I have any recommendations for support for the statement of accounts? Councillor Flitter?
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Flitter. Do I have a second? Councillor Ripton. Thank you very much. Could I have all those voting for, please? Thank you very much, everyone. That was unanimous. Thank you, Karen, for that. On to item number 9, the procurement update of the Independent Person Task and Finish Working Group Gritstone Road Appeal Review.
Thank you, Chair. This report provides members with an update on the procurement process undertaken to secure an independent person to support the Gritstone Road Appeal Review Task and Finish Working Group. The working group has now completed its evaluation of the proposals received, and the majority of working group members who have responded have selected a preferred candidate with the requisite expertise to undertake the review. As a result of the successful selection, there is no longer a requirement to seek additional funding from Council beyond the amount previously approved, which was £15,000. However, members are asked to note that the timetable set out for the completion of the review is indicative only and reflects the baseline assumptions provided as part of the Commission. In light of this, the committee is invited to consider whether a modest additional budget in the region of £5,000 should be allocated to provide appropriate financial headroom should the review require slightly more time or resource than currently estimated. This would help ensure that the review can be delivered without delay or the need to refer the matter back to Council while maintaining the robustness and independence expected of the process. A further report is going to Council next week to request a minor change to the group's membership to avoid conflicts of interest, and if members are minded to support the recommendation, a modest additional budget provision will also be taken forward. Members are invited to note the progress made and to consider recommendations within this report, ensuring that the review continues to be delivered transparently, independently and fully aligned with the scope agreed in the Council report dating September 2025. Happy to take any questions, Chair.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Chair. Can you confirm that the selected barrister will interview witnesses as well as hold meetings with the team, because in the original proposal from the barrister's firm, that wasn't included.
This will be for the working group to determine who they wish to interview, and obviously they can invite, but people cannot be forced to be interviewed.
It was really the barrister's willingness to interview witnesses rather
Oh,
than...
yes, that's costed for. Yes.
That's costed for,
Yes.
because do they understand the amount of time that might require given their original time budget and fees?
Yeah, they've given an estimation, and we've gone back to them with some clarifications for the additional requirements that the working group raised previously, which they've now submitted, and that's been distributed to the working group. I'm presuming you will have seen that, Councillor Hughes.
Just bring it up.
So yes, that has been accounted for, but obviously if we're minded to, if it does take any longer, that's why I've suggested the additional supplementary budget of £5,000, just in case there's that additional requirement that things do take slightly longer than anticipated.
Right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Any more questions from anybody else? No, thank you very much. Then, in which case, does anyone want to recommend those two items? Thank you very much. Councillor Hughes and Councillor Flitter as a second. And just to play back as well, the recommendations staying as it is with 1, but number 2 is changing the additional revenue budget from 15 to 5,000. Is that correct? Just to play back that so that all members understand
correct,
that's
yeah.
what's been lowered to just 5,000 required. So that's £20,000 in all?
Correct.
Correct. Thank you very much, just so it's clear for everybody. And can I have all those for that then, please? Thank you very much. That was unanimous. Thank you very much, members. Thank you very much, Caroline. Can I then go on to item number 10, please? Fees and charges for 26-27. Karen, back to you.
Thank you. So this is a joint report from me and other directors. The report seeks approval for new fees and charges that would be effective from the 1st of April 2025, or as soon, 1st of April 2026, or as soon as possible thereafter, for example, from the first Monday in April. The current year-on-year CPI rate of inflation was announced today at 3.4%. Our usual practice is to inflate fees and charges for the coming year by slightly more than the CPI, so that it helps us to pass on increased costs and balance our budget. We recognise that this might not be appreciated by members of the public, and service managers have therefore used their knowledge of their services and customers to set the proposed fees and charges. Most of the proposed increases are around 3.8%, which was the rate of inflation in the autumn when we started this exercise. There are exceptions to this, which are highlighted in Appendix 16 to the report, and in paragraphs 2.5 to 2.9. Some of those exceptions are to freeze charges at the current levels, others are to increase by more than 3.8%. Appendix 15 to the report shows the additional income that we estimate would be generated by these proposals, and that amounts to £88,000 a year, helping to close our budget gap and cover inflation. So ask members to approve the recommendations of the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. I will just remind members as well that this is put together by different departments to feed into Karen, so she might not be able to answer the in-depth. So car parking fees or anything like that, for instance, will be dealt with by those committees or by that. And this is basically pulling that together as part of the financial structure for governance. Okay, thanks. Any questions? Councillor Bull.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Mine is to do with the car parking. I just want clarification. Although I know that the car parking has been taken away as such off the marketplace in Ashbourne, but there are still parking places. And you're saying you're taking away the 30-minute free parking. Is this, I know you're not having an actual machine, I believe, so is this going to be signposted to say this is just a 30-minute stop only sign now? because of the, you know, other places, 30 minutes if they stop in. We don't want it to be, we're taking away 30 minutes, because we were wanting to say that the use of that area, if they've got to use it, should be only a very short period of time, not long stay. That's my argument. So
again, it's one for the car parks team, really, because this is for the fees and the structure that's doing that, if that makes sense. So how they organise it and deliver it will be through that team, not necessarily through the fee structure here, unless anyone can answer here in the offices. I suspect not, but I'm sure we can take that away to ask of that team, if that makes sense, because this is, again, it's about setting the fee structure, not necessarily how it's delivered on site.
right, okay, yeah, understood. Thank you.
Councillor Ripton.
Thank you, Chair. I've got two questions which, again, may need to be taken away. On the topic of the household waste, I'm conscious that fly tipping is a real problem, well, nationally as well as locally. I'm just curious about what we know about price points for household waste collection, commercial providers and others. I get the logic of putting the price up, but I actually wonder whether that drives more fly tipping, and then effectively we have to deal with the problem, and whether a lower price point might actually make the service more usable and therefore we get less dumping. So I'll leave the question there in case anybody can't answer that, and then I have a separate question about car parking.
The only comment that I would make, because I'm not aware that fly tipping is an issue. We don't spend a significant amount in clearing fly tipping, and the proposals for the fees have been put forward by the waste manager. You know, so I'm sure she's taken that into account. But if you want to raise it with the waste team, that might be, you might get a more satisfactory answer.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Karen. Yeah, it was I'd seen a government report on it, but also we'd had several issues in my ward, so that's what prompted the question. And then the second question was about the car parking, and I think we're only changing two of the sort of time-sensitive prices, aren't we? Is that correct? I think the one's highlighted in yellow. I can't see the page number now, but right at the back of the pack. It goes on forever, doesn't it?
I think it's Appendix
there
7.
Are two,
it's
yeah.
Appendix 7 that relates to car park.
But there are only two, and again, it was just, is that intentional that we've only changed the two and we haven't changed prices across the piece? And if that is true, what's the driver for that?
I think if you look at Appendix 7A on page 245 of the agenda, you'll see increases there.
Yeah, but we've got 25, 26, 26, 27, and is it the one highlighted in yellow? That's the only price that's changing, is that right? All the other prices are the same. Is that our intention? Page.
So the prices on pages 245 and 246 have been increased.
No, I'm looking at the Appendix 7B, car park charges. Is that right?
Page 247.
247, I think. Yeah, there's no page number on it. No.
Right. I don't know the detail of that one. Well,
because
that's clearly what the car parking manager has proposed.
Okay. Could we check that, because it looks like the hourly fees aren't changing, bar one that's highlighted in yellow. I don't know whether that's correct or not, or whether
Just
we need to put
imagine that
them
in
up.
the covering report. I'll just go back and look. There is a section on car parking in the covering report.
It might be. It feels like this is one to take away. Because I don't think
Yeah.
we'll be able to work it in the room and stuff. Again, if you send us the bit that you've highlighted, Councillor Ripton,
Yeah.
and stuff, we'll go and take that away. And likewise, for yours, Councillor Paul, I think it's take that.
The covering report in paragraph 2.6, it does say that they're changing the increased 10% tariff by 5p. It does talk about, but I must admit to not being that familiar with the car parking fees, but it does imply that they've increased. But yes, it might be better if you take it.
Let's
with the
take that
car
offline.
parking
And,
manager.
and maybe we can just share with all members as well when we get the output as well, so we know that one. Any further questions? Councillor Flitter.
Yeah, Chair. Yeah, because we haven't had a car park review meeting for some time, I'm just not too sure of what that is, but I'm sure that it's been discussed and reasons put forward. But the next car park review committee, I think is scheduled for early March. So whether there's time or for the budget meeting, I don't know. But we'll look into that because it is an interesting point. But I just wanted to comment that Councillor Ripton's brought up something that I've been on about for years, that's fly tipping. And this council has never acknowledged that fly tipping is a concern, and it is. And sooner we realise that, the better. But we've got to think about that because, you know, it does mean that people are dumping in our countryside. If it means we look at a pricing structure, we can do that, but at the present time, I'm afraid that the fight for a new contract in 18 months, 2 years' time is well underway, and it's got to be amalgamated with other authorities now as well, which are adding. So these prices actually do reflect the extras we're going to have to pay for a new contract. So it may be logical.
Just to keep you on the straight and narrow, Councillor Flitter, if is there a question?
Oh, we're into question. More of a comment.
Thank you. No, thank you very much. You noted. Thank you, Steve, for your insight. Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. Just a really quick one again. This is probably one for reference on that same page 248 with the car parking charges there. When I read that, I was just slightly confused, interested that this is a micro detail, that the hourly rate in Matlock Bath for 1 hour seemed to be higher in the period that I would regard as out of season compared with in season. So that might be one just to refer back as well. It looks like it's £2.50 for an hour between November and March, compared with £1.80 between April and October, and you would think it might be the other way around.
Again, we'll take that away for an action. Thank you very much, Councillor Shelley. Councillor Bates.
Yes, a couple of questions, Chair. I couldn't find the costings of sitting out licences. Are they in this report? I've probably missed them. There's that many pages.
And what's your other question, Councillor Bates? While we're searching through for you, and again, we might have to take that away as an action. But
the only other one is a small thing. Some of the proposed charges, it's like memorial benches, £546.37p. Can't these be rounded up to a sort of unit? It just seems ridiculous.
Thank you, Councillor Bates.
And I've got pages of them where there's just.
I know, Councillor Bates.
It's just a bugbear of mine.
Karen, do you probably have a better reflection on that because doing the maths around this?
I think some managers do round them up, but others, particularly if they're passing on actual costs, they don't always tend to round them up. And I've had a search, I can't find sitting out licences. They should be in, but I can't see them there. But it could be because they've been subject of a separate report.
Just come back on that because I was hoping it was in because I was going to ask whether Ashbourne could be exempt for a year from it with everything that's going off. The marketplace is still in such a mess. But that might be for another meeting. I don't know which meeting.
That might be a motion that we bring to council, to a different council. Oh, Councillor, sorry.
Sorry, if I can just help with that, Councillor Bates. Yeah, I can't find them in the report either. But they were considered at the Licensing and Appeals Committee, and the resolution was to keep them in line with other licences, but that might not be the same exact figures. With regard to suspension, there was action taken for them not to be in place for a period while the Ashbourne Reborn works were going on, and there's meetings going to be held with the licensees in Ashbourne we are in the new year now, later on in the new year, in order to negotiate both timings and costings and actual details of those licenses. So there is work still to be done on those, which might be one reason why it's not still in this report.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Councillor Bates. To answer your points, I think for the time being. Any further questions from the floor? Do I have anyone to support the recommendations? Thank you, Councillor Ripton. And that's all recommendations. Thank you very much. 1 and 2. And seconded, Councillor Flitter. And no debate points, I'm assuming, or point to note? No. Thank you very much. In which case, can I put it to the vote then, please? All those for? Thank you very much. That was unanimous. And I think that's our last item. Yep. Thank you very much, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, there you go. Crikey.
Wow.
Thank you all.
We want more meetings like that.
Well, thank you for your time, everyone. Safe journey home as well. Remember, if there's the tree, get your Google Maps out or pick your route home carefully.